Hey guys, in this video we're going to be continuing in the same section from our prior video when we were talking about measuring angles, and we're putting those in standard form. And one thing that was true of all of those were that they were in degrees. As you get higher in math, degrees become less and less common, and you actually use another measurement called radians to measure angles more often. So in this video, we're going to talk about how to convert angles from degrees to radians and from radians to degrees, and then also do a little timed thing as well. So let's go ahead and jump in. This is not difficult. You're just going to be using two formulas. And let's go ahead and start with the first one. First one is from degrees to radians. So I would write down these formulas, degrees to radians. They're very similar. So if we're given degrees, all we're going to do is multiply by pi over 180. And then we're just going to simplify the fraction. That's it. Multiply by pi over 180 and then simplify the fraction. So for the first one here, we're just going to do 165 times pi over 180. And you can just treat 165 sort of like it's a 165 over 1 fraction. We're going to do 165 times pi. We're going to always leave this in terms of pi. So don't ever actually multiply that on your calculator and get a crazy decimal. You don't want to do that. We're just going to leave it as 165 pi over 180. And then what we're going to do is reduce the fraction in front. So we want to reduce 165 over 180. It'd be good if you could do that on your own. There are calculators that obviously can do that for you. One way to do it on your calculator, the easiest way that I think there's a couple ways, but one way I like to do it if you're going to use your calculator is just do 165 divided by 180 equals, that's going to make it a decimal. And then all you do from there is you hit math. This will give you a decimal. And then you just hit math, and then there's this button that looks like this, and it says, it basically means 2 frac. So you just enter on that, and it turns it into a fraction. And it'll tell you it's 11 twelfths. So this is 11 pi over 12 is how we would write that. Because 165 over 180 simplifies to 11 twelfths. And that's basically it on that one. So all we're going to do is type in 11 pi slash 12. And that's all there is to it. So we'll do a couple more. Next one is 95 degrees. So notice this one is actually more than 360, and that's fine. You're going to have angles that are greater than 360. So all we do is the same formula, times pi over 180. That just becomes 495 pi divided by 180. If you want to go the route by doing it by hand, you probably want to divide each of these by 5, reduce it from there. Or if you're going to do it in a calculator, just do 495 divided by 180. And then just do math and then defrac. And it will give you 11 over 4. So this is just 11 pi over 4. So very simple formula. Why don't you go ahead and try this one on your own? All right, so this answer times pi over 180 gives you 225 pi over 180. We're then just going to reduce that. Math to frac, which is 5 pi over 4. All right. So we're going to go ahead and look at the next one, which is the opposite, if we're trying to convert from radians to degrees. And that, in a lot of cases, is actually even easier. Let's go and clear this one. All right, so we're supposed to convert the angle This one's negative, so let's start with a positive to start with first. All right, radians to degrees. Okay. So this is almost the same, just the opposite, basically. So if we're going from radians to degrees, I would write down this as well. First thing we're going to do is just multiply by the same fraction just flipped, just 180 over pi. And then this, it's okay to have a decimal. Degrees are fine as decimals. We don't really want them as fractions. So we're just going to basically write as a decimal. On most of these, the pi's are actually going to wipe each other out, which I'll show you here in just a sec. But it's really as simple as that. Just multiplying by 180 over pi. The pi's generally will wipe each other out. You just make it a decimal. Okay, so it's going to be 7 pi over 4 times 180 over pi. And again, what I do is, just so you don't have to type this into your calculator, the pi's wipe each other out because they're on opposite parts of the fraction. So then it just becomes 7 times 180, which is 1260, divided by 4, which is 315 degrees. That's it. All right, and the next one doesn't have pi with it, which is fine. Most applications would have something in terms of pi. This one doesn't, though. It just says 5.5 radians. It says round to the nearest tenth. So we're going to treat it the same way. 5.5 times 180 over pi. This one, though, is just going to treat it as 5.5 over 1. It becomes 5.5 times 180. It's 990. 1 times pi is pi, so we just divide 990 divided by pi. That gives us 315.126. It does say round to the nearest tenth. If you've forgotten, the tenths place is this one right here next to the decimal. Since it's a 2 next door, we're not going to round up. We're just going to keep it as 1. So we'll just type this in as 315.1. Whoops, I'm not sure what happened there. Alrighty. And let's go ahead and just do a negative here for good measure. In most applications of radians would have a pi there. These all don't for whatever reason. But we treat negatives the same. You're just going to be negative 1 times 180 over pi. And that's just going to become negative 180 over pi. So we just do that on a calculator, negative 180. Just make sure also when you're typing in your calculator, you're not typing in 3.14. So if you have like an iPhone or something and you're typing in 3.14, you will get the wrong answer on this probably every time. You need to actually hit the second and then pi button on your calculator. And you will get negative 57.295. Since we are asked to do the nearest tenth, we will round this up because we got a 9 next to it, so negative 57.3 will be our answer. Don't round any intermediate steps either. You need to just type it in exactly as it is with a pi there. So that is basically it. Maybe let's just do one more here. You can do this one on your own with the pi there. Okay, so this answer, pi over 4 times 180 over pi. The pi's will wipe each other out. So we're left with just a 180 over 4. And that's actually just 45 degrees. That is one of the common ones, which we're going to practice on the next set of problems here. So that's it for those. You do have, I think, 10 of each of those. This shouldn't take you long. But then the next thing is a little time trial. So you don't have to get a certain number of this. I just want you to try this. These are the common angles, which we are going to be using a lot when we talk about something called the unit circle. So what you're going to do is just hit the start timer. And you're going to answer the question. So these are all degrees to radians. So you're going to convert this to radians For radians, you times it by pi over 180. So you get 120 pi over 180. And these are supposed to be quick ones that you just do in your head. So if you're simplifying this in your head, the zeros cancel. We get 12 pi over 18. And then you think, well, 6 goes into 12 and 18, 2 pi over 3. And that's it. Then you click on it. It will then give you the next one, 45 degrees. So all you do is 45 times pi over 180. You get 45 over 180. Think about what goes into both of those. 45 actually goes into 180. It goes into it 4 times. This reduces to pi over 4. Click on it. All right, the next one, 210. So these are all very common angles. You'll see these when we do something called the unit circle. These are ones that you will just like know off the top of your head. So for instance, this one, 7 pi over 6. Just learn some of these in your head. The next one, let's see, would be, I think it's 5 pi over 3. And you can see I've got 5 out of 10 correct. So you just need to get 10 correct. If you miss one, I'm not sure what happens. I know this one's wrong. It's pi over 4 is 90 degrees. So let's see what happens when we miss. All right, it just tells you what the correct answer is. So I guess you just start over. Okay. So you're supposed to get 10 in a row. Don't worry about if you don't get 10 in a row. I might even lower that to like 5 in a row. We will do that if we can. So anyway, just do this. There, you don't have to get some certain percentage or something. Don't worry about what it says. I do just want to see that you tried this for a little while. And then you've got the same thing on the other ones to practice. Radians to degrees, these common angles. So you start it, and then you just have to make this conversion. This one, I believe, is 330 degrees. Oh, sorry, 315. So you can just try it, do the best that you can, do these conversions. This one, you might even want to just use your calculator. Really, you're just going to do 5 times 180 and then divide by 3 because the pi's cancel. And then just type the answer. So just try those. Again, I'm not going to grade you on how well you did on this. Just try some, see how many you can get correct, and go from there. It's just extra practice. All right, let me know if you guys do have questions, and good luck.